Hey guys, today we're going to look at comparing the Middle Ages and the Renaissance in the way that man viewed the human body in relation to science and medicine. So what we're looking at here are two different anatomical drawings of the human body, one from the Middle Ages and one from the Renaissance. And so we're going to look a little bit closer at kind of how each time period would have explained the way that man's body functioned and the way that illnesses occurred and things of that nature. So right now we're looking at the Middle Ages in particular. You can see that there are, the man in the middle looks very realistic. He has all the different human body parts. He doesn't have quite as much detail on the outs and inside of the body. You can see that it doesn't really have a lot of that muscle tissue that we know that's kind of running along like they have in the Renaissance picture to the right there. But we also have all these pictures along the sides that kind of help try to understand kind of where different parts of the body function and why they functioned the way they did. So if you haven't already figured it out, these different things along the side are the astrological signs. So, for example, you have the crab here. That would be, for those of you out there, the Cancer symbol. Scorpio, okay, with the scorpion. You have the twins for Gemini. Okay, the scales are Libra. Okay, and we also have the other signs here as well. So we can see that each piece of the body is tied to a different zodiac sign. That kind of goes to show that they believe that there was a connection between the zodiac symbols, which they would have primarily seen as stars, right? So that all the zodiac symbols are based on astrology, which is another study of the stars and the way that the stars kind of line up. So somebody who studies astrology would study the constellations and how they're lining with one another in relation to other planets. So they, in the Middle Ages, they would have explained the human body by the way that the stars were aligning. So remember, they were very into astronomy. Astronomy was not a new study, and so this would have been a common way to kind of explain different maladies of the body. You can notice here if you had, for example, a headache, right, that you would be associated with the goat sign. Okay? If you were for maybe having some intestinal issues, that would be related to the scales and the Libra. And so you can see they don't have a lot of information about what the inside of the human body looked like either. You don't see the telltale heart or lungs, liver, intestinal system. You see some pretty basic things, like they obviously thought some things were there, but there wasn't a lot of detail. You also are not seeing the muscles or the rib bones that we know to be there as well. So the Middle Ages, they primarily would have explained the way that the human body functioned based on the astrological signs and their study of astronomy. You can kind of see here he's standing on some fish that would have represented Pisces, who are the fish as well. Okay, so let's take a little closer look at the Renaissance. Okay, so in the Renaissance, you can see that there's a big change in the way that the outside of the body looks. Unlike the Middle Ages, where the outside of the body is still covered in skin, they have gotten rid of that, and it's now primarily the muscle system. So the big change from the Middle Ages to the Renaissance as well is that there is a new scientist named Vesalius. Vesalius had gotten permission from the city that he lived in to collect the dead bodies of the criminals that or going to be executed anyways. And when he got those dead bodies of the criminals, he actually performed the first autopsies, pulling their bodies apart and really trying to understand the bone structure, the muscle structure, and the internal organs of the human body. So in the Renaissance, you can see here that there is nothing based on astronomy. There is no connection to the stars or anything like that, but instead really tries to focus on the muscle tissue. So you can see there's pretty accurate representation of the bicep muscle and the tendons in the arms. You also can see the rib bones kind of sticking out through the chest here. You can notice that he's able to identify the nasal cavity, which would have been an area that would have been harder to get to. You see throughout the body that there are a whole lot of connections here to to the muscle and to the bone. So we have some bone through here as well. So in the Renaissance, they're going to have a much more realistic viewpoint of the human body because they are doing a lot more science. So cutting open a human body during the Middle Ages would have been seen as heretical, that it would have been an action of the devil to cut the body apart because the body needed all of its organs in order to go to heaven. They also have a deeper understanding of the human body in relation to muscle tissue and things of that nature. And so they're using more observation that came from the Middle East, that scientific method, in order to observe the human body and what it did. Okay. They're also going to be studying more Hippocrates. So Hippocrates was the Greek philosopher who really started to talk about symptoms and how we need to be tracking things like that in order to understand the human body as well. So that knowledge from Greece and Rome kind of made it come back during this time period as well. Okay. So now we are ready to write our outline, which we'll kind of do a little workshop on that tomorrow and what that actually looks like, because we have now gone through all of the different topics and now we're able to write our essay. Thank you.